Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up? It's your girl V-Henny, man. You already know the vibes. Welcome to the Artistry Show, where we talk shit about music, entertainment, and the everyday struggles. And you know how we do, man. We always have a dope guest in the building. We have Harlem's own. She's a hip-hop artist. She's poetically inclined. Make some noise for your girl, Raina Simone. Bum, 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 bum.
What's up, everybody? V-Henny, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, I couldn't miss it.
Oh man, listen, I just want to say again, thank you for being here. I feel like your energy in itself is super dope. So before we dive into anything, I just wanted to say, congratulations on everything you've been accomplishing. Following your work and seeing how you've been growing, again, is inspiring. So as a woman in this industry and just doing the thing, this is to you.
Thank you.
To many success and to
we gotta do
more.
eye contact. The good luck.
Yes, yeah, you have to because
Thank you.
you already know the vibes. And yo, we're here. Shout out to Bumble for having us. And let me know how you feel about this.
Sweet enough for me. I love it.
You love it? Are you a dark liquor person?
I could do dark. I could do anything that's just a little sweet.
Okay. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You understand? Like for me, yeah, I do dark. Obviously, V-Henny. that's just
Stay true.
Yeah, I had to chill out with that though, because it got me a little aggressive.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way.
How that go?
But you know how that is, But we here, man. We at Bumble. I just want to say again, thank you for taking the time being here. I've been like listening to like certain interviews and listening to your newest album that you just dropped. Old School, New Conscious.
Old Soul, New Conscious. Yep.
Boom. Let me do that again.
But Old Soul is old school. Old
but
school
yeah,
is old soul.
it is old school because I was thinking of, so Old Soul, New Conscious. All right, let's go bring that back. So I've been wanting to like have this sit down with you because like listening to your interviews, listening to your latest album, Old Soul, New Conscious, right? I know like earlier I said old school, but the reason why I said old school is because you have a song in particular that gave me like a very public enemy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I think it was the No Peace. Yes. Okay. Oh my God. First of all, you went hard on that track.
Thank you so much.
But I definitely wanted to get more into your story because learning about you, let's definitely dive into the roots of it all. I know you started playing piano at a young age. How did that early exposure to your music shape your understanding or approach to both poetry and hip hop?
A lot. I feel like knowing music theory and just being able to hear a sound in your head and then being able to, emulate it somehow in the real world, I think in itself is really, really powerful. So definitely knowing instruments and being able to read music has really, really helped on my musical journey, and then, inspires me with the lyrics too. Once I do something musically that I like, then it's easier to put the lyrics to it. But I started playing piano very young, around 3. I would kind of just like go missing and be found randomly at my grandparents had this grand piano. When I used to go to their house, I would go missing and they would always just find me at the piano at like 2-3 years old.
Okay.
And so my parents, took the initiative to enroll me very, very early, start getting me into piano lessons. And would not let me quit until I turned 18.
Okay.
And so I started rebelling a little bit, and I hated it at the time, but now I'm so thankful for their having done that.
Right.
They never played instruments, and they always wished they had, so they made sure that I did. And I was so anti it until I realized, like, you know what, this is kind of helping me a little bit.
It did. I felt, and then at the age of 3, that's a true gift.
No, absolutely.
That's a true gift.
Yeah, and I'm blessed that I was able to develop it for so long. They my parents also, I'm very like proud of where I come from. And my parents are a part of that, of course. But they always felt like you could never go broke with, the right skill sets. If you can play an instrument, you can go walk into any club with an instrument and, hop on stage and be like, hi, I'm here to play this. And they got to let you on stage if you're good enough. If you're good enough at a skill, you can't be broke. And so that was kind of their logic behind it. I guess it was a trauma response, but it worked in my sister and I's favor, so I can't be mad at it.
So you started at 3. Okay, were you born and raised in Harlem?
So I was born at Lenox Hill Hospital, actually, but born in Harlem rather. Lived in Harlem for, I would say, the formative years of my upbringing.
Okay.
Moved to Jersey. My father was very big on the idea of, wanting to ascend and wanting his children to have a backyard to go play in, and so that was cool. That was the lifestyle for a little bit, and then my parents ended up breaking up when I was about I think right before middle school. I would say. Okay. So my father moved back to Harlem. My mother stayed in Jersey. I moved to another place in Jersey, and so from that point on, I was back and forth.
Okay.
And so it's always a little difficult when people ask where I'm from. Yeah, it's not difficult to me, but I guess it's difficult for other people to fully understand. But I always say I have to rep, Harlem, New York. Specifically, I spent the most time on 102nd and Madison. But I went back and forth though between the East and West. I moved around a lot. Okay. But I gotta rep Harlem and Inglewood equally.
No, always, you definitely do. Always. Do you feel like because you was back and forth, did that help you like step out of your box, out of like the whole New York style of hip hop?
Oh, that's an interesting question. You know what? I like that question. I don't know if I've been asked that question before. I would say so. I don't even know if I've ever thought about that kind of question before. I think definitely though.
Because the reason why I ask is like all right, I can relate with the fact of I used to rap a long time ago. Trash. Don't
No.
Going back to like the Bronx, and then I used to move around a lot, right? So I used to go back and forth like Florida. So there was a point there when I used to rap. I remember people used to be like, "Yo, you have like you could hear a hint of like some Southern words," and I'm like, "Nah, from the Bronx," but I can understand the influence behind it with, being here for a year or there for, so that's what I was wondering. I know Inglewood, especially Jersey. Jersey is a whole different world in itself. No shade to Jersey at times. I'm going to say at times because I lived in Jersey and it was different out there.
Absolutely.
But it's like listening to music, being out there. I remember being out there in itself, like doing shows, hearing the artists out there, like, they definitely have a different sound compared to New York, especially like if you're like more like South or Central Jersey opposed to North Jersey, So I was just wondering how was that influence?
No, yeah, I love that question. I will say, so for me in particular, where my mother was in Jersey and where my father was in Harlem, it was literally like 10 to 15 minutes away. So, it was kind of like, the energy couldn't be so different because it was close proximity. They weren't too far from each other. It was like right across the George Washington Bridge. But there are definitely so many different things that I've picked up just environmentally from different environments.
Okay.
Even if it's not specifically New York and New Jersey, I think just in general, being a sponge and a student of life, you pick up different things.
Right.
I think I'm very easily influenced when it has to do with something I'm passionate about, like music.
Okay.
So I, catch myself all the time and I'll hear things that I'm like, oh, that kind of sounds like Jersey. Oh, that sounds real New York. Or you know what? That even kind of sounds Southern. My mother's, roots are Louisiana.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think all of that is wrapped up in there, and I take pride in that. I think that's what makes my sound a little bit different.
That's dope. That's dope. And then
I gotta say too, the greatest lyricists have always come from New York and New Jersey. I just gotta throw that out there equally. I will say,
I listen. Okay, who's that?
You got the Lauryn Hills from Jerseys. You got the
and I love that you said that.
Yeah, when music really, really started, you got the Sugar Hill Gang.
Right.
Isley Brothers, one of the most sampled in hip hop. At that point, you might have to add them in there.
Look at this. I have this in the beginning. I love that you said Lauryn Hill, right? Because when I was listening to you, and I was telling Monk, right, my producer, I was like, yo, her album, right? Definitely check it out, right, guys? We're gonna speak more on the album, but your album gave me very much a modern day, and I don't want to compare but I feel like this can be a compliment, where it's like it's very modern day, a little bit more politically inclined. The miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
That's a huge compliment.
So but some people don't like the comparisons and etc. But the reason why I say that is because as I was listening, you had the interludes and and I was just like, okay, it's not like with the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she was talking to the kids. But for you, right, like I was taking it as, I was like, all right, I feel like she also was talking to my inner child. you know, with certain songs and, you know, like, or like just like like breaking generational curses and etc. You understand? Absolutely. So that's why I was like, okay, 2 different albums, but it was very like a nostalgic feel that I got with your album.
Thank you.
You know, with comparing it to like a Lauryn Hill.
I'll definitely say I think it actualized as my kind of like my coming of age story.
Okay.
So I have been hearing that you know people have felt reminiscent in terms of certain things from their childhood, specifically growing up in New York. So I'd love to hear that further.
That's dope. And I know, so you went from 3 years old playing piano, Beethoven right there. No. You know, she was like freaking it right there. So
something like that.
You know, were you composing music like at what age?
So in terms of actual like music composition, where I was not playing other people's things but doing my own stuff, I would say middle school. That really started.
Wow, middle school.
Middle school is when it really started. I remember we got this family computer.
Okay.
And it had GarageBand on it. And from that moment forward, my sister and I just didn't know what to do with ourselves.
So both of you guys play piano?
Yeah, my sister plays as well. My sister's main instrument kind of ended up being guitar at a certain
strings.
Point.
Yeah.
And then we both play violin as well.
I'm impressed. I'm super impressed. Okay.
Yeah, we're a very musically inclined family.
That's dope.
My parents aren't musicians themselves, but they're appreciators of music and, you know, good, serious listeners.
Okay. So composing middle school, then when did poetry come into play? Because that was your first passion.
Absolutely.
Well, one of your first passion, obviously piano. So that was another passion that you ended up finding.
You know what? I would say I always just loved writing in general, in any form that it came in. So I've always been a heavy writer. In middle school in particular, I ended up going to a school called the Horace Mann School in the Bronx, which is actually a private independent school. And that ended up being quite the culture shock every day going to that school. And so at that point...
Is it because it was in the Bronx?
No, not at all. Okay. It was actually because although it was in the Bronx, the population and the demographic of the school did not at all represent that of the Bronx.
Okay. I was like, yo, which way are we going with this?
No, not at all. I rock with the Bronx. But most people attending that school were not from the Bronx.
Right.
But nonetheless, I felt like writing at that point in time was the way in which I could express myself freely. I felt like I had to code switch when I was going to school and around other people. And This was my way to just be myself and, you know, really be able to say the things that were on my mind in an uncensored way, not having to censor myself.
Okay.
So that's what really made me fall in love with poetry, I would say, around middle school.
Okay.
And from there, it just grew.
Oh, okay. So when did you started combining the two or transitioning into hip hop? I
would say definitely end of middle school.
Beginning
of middle school was like, okay, I'm a poet now.
Okay.
By the end of middle school, I would say I was trying to figure out how I could produce my own records and add that poetry on top of those beats. Once I realized that the music and the poetry, 2 things that I love, could go together, it was kind of a wrap.
I know you mentioned that you felt somewhat scared or discouraged when because you dropped a track, like one of your first tracks, and you got criticized.
Oh my gosh, they bullied me so badly. It was terrible for years to come.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was so bad. It was in 7th grade. So yeah, this is the middle school era I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I used to go by The Queen, and then before that I went by Smalley Biggs. This is all when I was like 11, 12. I thought Smalley Biggs was the coolest name ever because it's not Biggie Smalls, but like it's close enough.
Right.
But so I dropped this song called Whatever It Takes in 7th grade.
Okay.
And oh my goodness, they just ripped me to shreds. But it was a humbling experience that I needed.
Okay.
You know, and that really made me go back to the drawing board, I think, and improve my craft even more so. Which was very important.
Did you end up continue to do music, like, or writing, or did you just fall back for a while?
I fell back as far as they were concerned. So I was no longer telling them that I was...
Gotcha. Dang, she was
trying to get them to, go look for the record. But, I feel like when you're a real musician, when you're a real artist, that's something that's internal.
Right.
You know? I have a tattoo on my arm that's like the music notes are bars and their hands behind it. And that's kind of my approach to music. I love music to death, but I feel like it's something that speaks to you as a person more so than a hobby, So sometimes I don't even want to be doing music anymore. It just gets stressful and I'm like, I don't even like this industry, but I'm still hearing things in my head and I'm still wanting to say things and I'm still wanting to feel that creativity and make sure that other people can feel it too.
speaking of like the industry, right? It's like, so you know, like you're doing, it's crazy because we start music writing is all like, it's a therapy session in a sense, right? It's like, you know, this is you putting yourself out there and boom, you're being transparent, right? And it's like the industry in itself, you're saying like, you know, I can relate, or I can relate where it's like, there are moments when you don't like the industry. So what are some things that you're coming to realization that you're like, nah, I'm not fond of this?
You know what? I think I'm now ambivalent to it all, where I don't even really care anymore.
Okay.
I just recognize that I'm an artist, and that I think that, you know, when you're really an artist, you may not always fit into the mold of an industry that's sole goal is to capitalize.
Right.
So yeah, with that being said, I don't really.
Okay.
There's nothing I can pinpoint right now that I'm like, oh, I don't like this about the industry.
Okay.
I think it's just another business model, like any other business
Okay.
model. And I think it's really hard to fit art and creativity and free expression into a business model.
Right.
I think it's possible to be done, and I think we're definitely doing it. Myself and those who are working with me in numerous ways. But you know, there's more it takes more calculation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I know you start. So obviously, again, you held back a lot from, you know, others, but you were still making some music and whatnot. But then I guess 2021, you started taking it seriously, correct?
Yep. So quite some years later, 2021, I was always doing this though. It never stopped. You just kind of had to catch me at the right moment. So in 2021, someone caught me at the right moment.
What was that like? What do you mean they caught you at the right moment?
So I was freestyling on campus at Howard University.
Okay.
And a friend of mine named Cherry and another friend of mine named Cole recorded the freestyle.
Okay.
And it ended up doing very, very well. We did like 1.5 million views, to my surprise, overnight. You know?
Okay.
And that was the first video I had of mine really go viral. So that was a surprise to me. But when I realized that there was a market for the content that, you know, I was putting out, I wanted to definitely make sure that I was fulfilling the need that market had. So
you went by 1.5 mil views, Howard. How was that? Like going to Howard, you know? I was told it's an amazing experience.
Absolutely. You know, I think going away for school is always going to be a very amazing experience. Outside of, you know, the academic things that I acquired over time, I think just being away from home and, you know, not being able to rely on, you know, family or friends the same way. Or just environments that you know the same way. You know, even if it's not family or friends, but just knowing a certain block really well and knowing your directions around. But yeah, putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions, I think, are really important for growth. I grew a lot while I was at Howard. Loved attending Howard University. I think it's really important for students of color to, you know, attend HBCUs. If you know, if you have access to that opportunity, most definitely take advantage of it. HBCUs in particular, you know, I'm very passionate about learning through lenses other than that of a Eurocentric lens. Oftentimes, given the curriculum at a federal level in this country, you're learning through a lens of Eurocentrism. Right. Of course, that leaves out a wide range of other things that you need for the betterment of self and to actually be someone who's conducive to your community and to the world around you. Nonetheless, I think it's very important for all students to attend an HBCU if you're of color, if you can. I think that's really important to learn through an Afrocentric lens for the first time and see yourself as the center instead of the outside. I am curious.
So, because again, like you mentioned, like I feel like it brought you, you know, let me not say I feel like it brought you back to your roots in a sense.
But I would definitely say it did though.
Okay, so then it did. So it brought you back to your roots and it made you very conscious, right? So at what point can you say you started like developing more this consciousness within your music?
So you know what? I think that's really interesting. While Howard allowed me to know that my consciousness was okay and accepted and I could be as loud as possible about it, I think the consciousness started way earlier than that. Okay. And it actually wouldn't have started at all if it was concentrated within an environment like Howard, where it was an environment that was students of color.
Right.
But I think my being surrounded, you know, when I spoke about going to that other school, Horace Mann.
Right.
I think being surrounded by those students is really what made me conscious.
You know? I could imagine.
Yeah, very much so. Times have since changed, you know, within the last 10 years or so. Okay. So I don't necessarily feel like students now have to deal with it to the same extent.
Okay.
But when I was you know, and it was only like a decade ago, but a lot really has changed when you think about it. When I was growing up, they were still calling the black girls at the school monkeys and everything else. And like, this was just running free. That, you know, there was a lot that went on. But nonetheless, my father likes to describe it as like a lion. And, you know, a lion in captivity is used to people, you know, so they're not as scared of a person coming in. Whereas a lion in the wild is, you know, not used to people. They don't know how to deal with a person coming in. So one would think that the lion in the wild is more likely to attack you, but it's actually the lion in captivity that has already been able to analyze your moves and knows the person. So I kind of see myself as the lion, and having been around that environment, I'm much more likely to attack in so many ways. I've already seen what there is to see. So
I mean, you're you know, at the end of the day, you're doing it. You're, you know, like you're showing your lioness, you know, and I like, again, like, it's very inspiring, you know, and it's unfortunate that, you know, you had the fact that you had to deal with that at a young age. You understand?
Man, it was crazy.
I could imagine. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that, you know.
I think it was very important, though.
You know, and it's like, it sucks, right? Because I was just having this conversation. It's like the fact that, and this may come off maybe ignorant or whatever, but it's like me having to go, you know, being from New York, then at times go to the South. You see that more in the South. But like when you deal with it in the North, and it's like, and it's like, it's not that I'm saying that it doesn't exist. We already know this.
But definitely a different
But
form.
it's just a whole different narrative when, you know, when you do have to deal with it, like in New York or the Bronx, especially, where there's nothing but Hispanics and blacks. And, you know, like for me, it was always like,
that was
you know,
the irony of the situation for me.
Go ahead, speak on it.
You all were coming into the Bronx, where we all are with this. And granted, you know, I'm very also gracious for the institution that I attended. Horseman is a very good school. It's often ranked #1 in the country, off and on with Riverdale. So
right.
I'm very thankful for the education.
But it was still the experience. It probably wasn't the education. It was just the experience it was the people.
Yeah,
or the kids.
It was a shame that my parents had to choose, you know, my having such a negative racial identity experience in order just to receive the education that they wanted me to have to go further in life the way they wanted me to. So
gotcha.
That sacrifice, it's unfortunate that it was there, but you know, all those things I think are very important, and that my narrative is not at all, you know, like a Raina narrative. All the other students of color that I was with at that school went through the same things, and it was worse 10 years before, and even worse 20 years before. So, you know, these are all things that are just part of our narratives, and I think that that's also why when people listen to some of my records, they can identify with these things.
Absolutely.
Because whereas, you know, some people may listen and be like, oh, that's Raina's experience. Like, nah, that's a collective conscious experience where, you know, most of us dealt with that. But we take pride in that. That's not like a, oh, I feel bad for me thing. That's like we here now. Watch this and watch the lion. So
speaking of your, you know, like your experience and through your music, right? I know your debut album, also New Conscious, right? Draws up personal experience, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Can you share a specific story or theme from the album that you feel is particularly important for your audience to listen to?
Ooh. Oh my goodness, these questions.
I'm trying. I did research on you.
You know what? There's a, what is that? There's Subway Surfers into a record called Do Me Something. And so there's a narrative where it's my grandfather speaking about how it is that he actually got up north. My grandfather's from Bastrop, Louisiana, and they migrated up north to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, just hopped on the train and went up. And so he's speaking about, but it's interesting, I placed it there because that's at the end of a song called Subway Surfers, of course, which has to do with the train. And so there's a little transition where...
I like that song, by the way.
Thank you.
But go ahead.
There's a little transition where I'm on the subway, and so he's on the train back in the day in, you know, the 50s. And that's sort of like the crossover, but he's explaining his time on the train and you're hearing mine through the song. Nonetheless, he's explaining his time going up north and why they had to go up north. And he's explaining that, you know, essentially, he was disrespected by a white man in the South and they weren't really taking it. You know, they retaliated, and that's why the family had to escape. And that's such a common narrative too.
Right.
You know, that so many share. That's not rare. That's not something you see in a movie. That's literally the narrative. You know, you ran away escaping the KKK because you decided you weren't taking it anymore and decided to shoot him in the foot or something like that. That was very real. But I would say that's a story that sticks with me often, and that I also draw from, that I put on the project. That is really, really important to me. Just the becoming of my lineage.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, listen to the album. Listen. I was listening in the car. I feel like the two best places to listen to like music would be in the car.
Oh, definitely.
Right, and then would be like for me, it would like either be like in a shower or like just somewhere private, like I'm to you know, like I'm to myself. And I'm in the car. I was like, I gotta still put this album in the car just to see if this is something where I can, like, since I like to do long drives, I'm like, I'm the type of, I'm an album person.
And I love to hear that because everyone's attention spans now are so short.
Nah, I'm an album person. So for me, it's like, I'm the type of, when I take like long drives, I'm like, all right, can I just play this whole album throughout the whole drive? And I was doing it. And I was like, all right.
Passed the test, V-Henny.
You passed the test.
Thank you. I like that.
I was like, no. And then I played it in my job, right? And I was in my job. And I'm like, and it's funny because people were just like, oh, who's that? And I was telling them about you, you know? And I'm just like, you know, again, like, I guess the reason why I'm so like, I was so excited, or I am, and I'm still am like excited to like have you here was because I was telling Monk, I was like, yo, you're different. Whereas like you're very centric, very, you know, like I said, poetic. And the fact that you're not a BBL rapper. You're not you understand? Like, you're not a bubblegum rapper, you know? Like, but I loved how versatile you can be. Because you was definitely, you had bars, but then I heard some little harmonies here and there, you know, whatever. So I was just like, because that's you who harmonize it, or like doing certain hooks, right? Yeah, was that you on all the hooks?
Absolutely. I never want people to feel like I'm preaching to them. You know, that's really important to me too. So whereas I can sit down and give you a whole lesson about, you know, racial factors in America, 100%. I don't want to do that all the time. You know, I listen to other things, and I want people to feel other things too. There's so many emotions to feel, and I feel so many emotions. Right. I also want other people to feel. So, eclecticism is really important to me. Just being able to deliver a variety of sounds, but have something in common. So, like, I'm really big on syncopation and like this idea.
Oh my God, I had that right here, but go ahead.
Yeah?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you're about to beat me to it.
But go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm really, serious about this idea of syncopation. And so there's a certain way that I like to do my drums, regardless of genre. And that's sort of my giving back to my culture and where syncopation derives from in terms of West African continent. But I like to be as eclectic as possible, as long as there's some serious drums in there that fit the Raina pattern. We can go any direction, singing, rapping. We can go bounce, we can go Jersey Club, we can go classic rap, whatever we want to do.
Okay. No, and as you should, and that's the beauty to music, is that music is so universal, and it's just, again, like it's healing. And I'm just a big believer that music heals. I'm big on vibrations and vibrations, energy, you know. Absolutely. So knowing that you're big on growth and the journey of mastering in your craft. Absolutely. You know, the fact that you started taking it serious in 2021 and now we're here, 2025. How can you say when can you say you were starting to find or feel comfortable within your sound or your voice?
Okay. So yeah, I will say, I think my sound is always growing. So I feel like now I have a sound that I'm very comfortable in. Okay. And comfortable with, for sure. And I think now I can say that following this album project, I think that's when I would say I could really confidently say that. But, you know, my sound is always and forever will be growing. And I continue to, like, I try to do at least 3 songs a day. And so every day I feel like I do a better song than yesterday. So I guess that's a hard question for me to answer for that reason.
And the reason why I say comfortable with, because like you said, you like your growth. And it's like, you would never be as who you were yesterday, right? So again, like you said, you did a song yesterday. You was like, cool, this was good. And then you did a song today, and you be like, yo, this is way better. You understand? Like, and again, tomorrow.
And business model too. Going back to that industry idea, I think just in terms of the idea of growth, I started approaching things differently in terms of that way, in terms of looking at longevity and growth rather than like instant gratification and like things happening right away. Even though, you know, in all situations there's room to grow. But, you know, music and art is one of the only things that appreciates over time. Right. You know, and so that's really, really important too. And so I've kind of been seeing things from that perspective now as well, in terms of how do you increase value over time. Okay. When it comes to something like a song or a song's value. And sometimes just time will do that, you know, so that's been really important to me too, in terms of understanding like licensing and publishing and how things can appreciate over time. So.
Right. Looking at your social media, right? What's a misconception people have of you?
That's a good question. I I'm not sure. I wouldn't say I like look at my social media actually too often. I just kind of post and gotta run away because
she said I gotta run
anxious
away
sometimes. But I don't know. I think everyone thinks that I just light incense and candles all day and listen to Erykah Badu and like comb out an afro. But and sometimes I do that. My days do look like that sometimes.
Okay.
But most of the time that's not what my days look like though. I feel like I'm a very versatile character. I like to do a lot of different things. I'm very in touch with self. I think that's very important. But I never wanted to be performative.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. I can see that.
That's very important to me too, that people understand that part, you know. I'm very in touch with self. There's certain things that I do to resist certain Eurocentric principles on purpose that I've always done.
Give me like 1 or 2 examples.
Like I only like to wear dashikis or black or the color black.
Okay.
Yeah, which I've actually been doing for a very long time, probably since my sophomore year of high school. But yeah, I don't know. I would say that's probably maybe the only misconception. I don't know if you can tell too much by looking at my Instagram. What do you think? What is your interpretation by looking at my Instagram?
She has some drums in the background, the incense. Yeah. You know, like so yeah, not talking crap. Like no, I for what I got, like for I guess on my but you asking a person who like reviews people and you like I know marketing and all that. So but personally, like I said, like looking at your IG was very I got more artists than business compared to like you can tell as a person like myself that I've managed certain particular names in the industry, right? Or worked with certain particular people. Like you can tell who's just they're doing this just for business, for posts, for views, etc. With you, I saw like, yeah, you got to be strategic with it. We already know this, especially where you're at in your career. However, I can still tell you have that passion still there, you know? Absolutely. And, you know, despite how challenging this music industry can be, and we already know that, I feel like you still have your heart on your sleeve with music. Like music is still there with you. And I say that because again, like you said, you don't even want to be performative. I know too many people that's all they know, you know? And it's a breath of fresh air where it's like, you have someone who's just like, yo, I love this. I want to continue doing this. It's either you follow me or you don't. And it is what it is. And I think this is why your supporters continue to keep growing with you. So it's a beautiful thing, you know? So continue, you know, like just keep moving forward, you know? So I'm proud of you with that, you know, like it's just, you don't see that often. And I'm not saying there aren't people out there who are passionate, whatever they are, but it's just a different energy. If you understand like what I mean.
No, I love that's shown and you can feel that through the page. So that was thank you.
Nah, you already know. Nah, I have to because again, it's like it's just sometimes this industry listen. To make it in this industry, you have to have tough skin.
Oh, yeah. I think you have to lose your mind first.
Yes.
100%.
How many times you lost your mind?
A lot.
Yeah? When was the last time you lost your mind?
Oh, man. I feel like I have a mental breakdown every 2 weeks, but it's healthy, though.
Right.
Because right after that, I come back with clarity and I'm ready to conquer again.
Okay. So what's like a self-day, like, for yourself outside of music? What is it that you do, like, to just cleanse your energy and be like, all right, let me touch the grass?
You know what? I think just writing about other things.
Okay.
In other forms. So, like, I really love writing in general. Okay. I write books, too. I have a book out called The Cost of Identity. My author name, though, is Raina Simone X. But I write, too. I love writing and expression. So that really is my piece. Whenever I can... Music, you know, now will kind of feel like a job. So I don't always like to write songs for peace the way I used to. But just writing in general, anything, I think is really peaceful.
When can you say you started understanding that your voice and your influence holds some sort of weight within the community with race and gender?
You know what? I would say I'm still coming to understand that. And I'm very appreciative that I'm beginning to understand that. I think that is the reality. But I don't know. I've been rapping for a very long time now. And, you know, I think people just over time, I don't know. I've really been rapping my whole life, you know? So I almost feel like people who have been watching kind of like watched me grow up. And, you know, whether I literally went from rapping in my mother's basement, middle school and high school, which people saw if I was posting on Instagram, to then randomly rapping in college, to then coming back mid-pandemic and doing the same thing. And I feel like people saw that whole process. So, I don't know. I guess just recently I'm starting to realize that, but I think that's because people have seen the journey and the process, and the message and the narrative has always kind of been the same.
Right. How are you taking that in? Because like, what is that saying? It's so cliche. The one with Peter Parker, right? With Spider-Man. It's like with great responsibility comes yes. So are you ready for that?
100%. I think you have to be ready for something like that when you start making such bold, you know, claims and statements. It's just always been very important to me to not create or facilitate a following or a fan base or even a group of supporters that idolize or idealize anything. So that's been really important to me, you know? And that we're just collectively like on one thought process. You know? So I like to encourage change. But I don't necessarily want to be, I don't want to say I don't want to be the change. I think it's important to be the change. But I want to encourage what is the change.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, let's go very quickly to your album. Old Soul, New Conscious, 24 tracks. Because I know when it comes to the process of creating an album, right, you tend to over record. And then you be like, I got like 1,000 songs. Which songs are making it into the album? So how was that process?
You know what? It was difficult towards the end. I would say in total, I actually didn't record too many songs and prep for like this album. I would say I probably recorded maybe 30 songs in general for this album. And then narrowed it down to 24. But there were a lot of songs that didn't even make the recording process, you know? Or some that I'm saving for a future album. Old Soul New Conscious is the first album that I publicized, but it's technically my second album that I created. And the first I want to release second, since they say that the sophomore is the curse and the first one is the best one.
That's interesting.
But anyway, so yeah, I did record a lot of extra songs for it and tried to narrow it down in terms of what I thought conceptually would work with some of the others. Concepts and transitions.
Very strategic.
I was trying to be.
Very strategic. I was something. Oh, she doing her thing, kid. Yo. All right. So lastly, I want to know, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh, love that question too. Last time I did something for the first time. I don't know. I really have been sort of like on lockdown with this music stuff recently. I kind of dropped and just been in go mode ever since. Like
nothing? You haven't tried some new dish or like went to a new location?
Oh yeah, definitely went to some new places. Tried some new restaurants. Oh man, I guess they weren't memorable if I can't tell you the name, huh? Let's see, Oh, you know what?
What?
I moved recently. That's something I did
congratulations.
For the first time. Thank you.
All right. Yep. That's a big step.
It is a big step.
That's dope.
It is a big step. So that's something I did.
How was how long you been how long has it been?
So now it's been like 2 months, but I would say to me it feels like just like as of last week I really got like settled. I had to get all my things right in there. So
that's dope. Congratulations. Ain't nothing like you know, like moving and having your own space, you know, like it's amazing. It's amazing. That's dope. So what's one of the first, like, I guess, I mean, is this your first apartment? Like,
so I had an apartment when I was back at Howard, my senior year, but my senior year, we all went home. So, you know, that ended that way. But so this is my first,
first, like, as
New
an
York.
adult.
This is my first New York apartment. If you're in New York, you know that could be challenging. It's hard up here. So this is my first New York apartment.
So what was like one of the first things you did?
First thing I did.
As you got your apartment. I don't know, like.
I blasted the speakers as loud as I possibly could. And I smoked a very fat joint. And I just minded my business for the night on my patio, and I was so happy and peace.
Yeah, listen,
great night.
I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing, kid. Like, Ain't nothing like having your own space.
Absolutely.
That's dope. Congratulations on that. You know, is there like, before we, you know, we go about our, you know, our day and stuff like that, but I definitely want to know, like, obviously, you know, this is your calling, you know, this is your purpose. Like, is there anything that you feel like you want to tell, like, for those who want to come up and feel somewhat discouraged or scared, whatever, like any advice?
Yeah, absolutely. I would tell everyone else the same thing I tell myself all the time, and it's that all it takes is one, and you never know when that one's going to be. But of course, naturally, mathematically, right? If you look at probability, if you do it enough times, eventually you got to get it. And that's literally scientific. That's by calculation. So it can't fail you. You just got to keep doing it. And things appreciate over time. It's really important to just stay with it and just know that you'll continue to grow. The more you do something, the more you master it. You have to get better. That's inevitable. And I think even once you master something, you can get better at your mastery. And once you do master something, then people have to, you know, give you credit. Right. There's several different ways to make it, but you can still make it with talent. So I think that's really, really important. And the more talented you are, the easier it is for people to just be blown away by it. So just get better and better and better until no one can deny you of anything. That's what's up. Raina, where can we find you? Where can we find your music? All that good stuff. I can be found everywhere at Raina.Simone, RAINA.SIMONE. Raina Simone on all platforms. Old Soul New Conscious and now out on all platforms. And I hope you all will listen. I appreciate you, V-Henny. And thank you also for listening. No, of course. And yeah, a lot more to say to you all. It's not done. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning, kid. So thank you, V-Henny, for having me early and for having me. No, of course. I'm honored. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. You know, this is the beginning. And I'm being honest. Like we're definitely gonna continue working and building. Please, I want to just say, definitely, guys, if you're watching, there's no reason why you shouldn't be following. All her information will be in the description box below. All you got to do is click on it. It's free. You understand? Show that support. It's your girl, V-Henny, the Artistry Show. And we out. Rock out with your cocks out. Jam out with your clam out. Bow.